I want to welcome each and every one of us to the second topic under Module 2, which is on effective and efficient leadership. We've just looked into creative leadership, and in this session, we are going to be talking about innovative leadership. Innovative leadership. And when we talk about innovative leadership, what are we really talking about? Innovative leadership is the act of making a good idea a better idea. One thing you will notice about creative leadership and innovative leadership is that they are very close. Creativity is about creating something that is unique and new, but innovative leadership is about making that which you have created to be even more better. This is what innovative leadership is all about. And I believe that after today's teaching, you will understand why innovation is a very key part of any man or any woman's destiny. Now, what is innovation? According to Joel Baker says invention is the creation of new idea. Innovation is the introduction of that idea to its user, be it inside the organization or outside in the marketplace. So innovation can be something that you do to improve your organizational system, how your organization functions, to be productive, to be efficient, to be profitable. It could also be something you are doing to win the marketplace, to gain more market share, to enter into a new product line. That is what innovation is. And I have been able to define innovation in this very simple concept. I said innovation is a skillful recombination of old ideas into a distinct new concept. With innovation, there is nothing that is new. It is recombining old ideas and combining them in such a way that they then become a distinct new concept. In the late 20th century, for some of us who are able to witness the 20th century, there is a marketing or a management guru called Peter Drunkard. Some of us studied some of his materials. He was a very wonderful, when you talk about management, the only go-to person in the 20th century was Peter Drunkard. The man was very knowledgeable. And he created this marketing mantra of the 20th century. And what did he say? He said, innovate or you die. In other words, it doesn't necessarily mean you will die physically, but if you are an organization and you don't engage in innovative activities, you are going to run that organization aground. And that is what Peter Drunkard was trying to say, that if you don't innovate, other organizations will leave you behind. And we are going to see that as we progress. So you need to embrace innovation if you must continue to be relevant. Even as a student, as a young man, young lady, you need to understand this concept of innovation. And there is no context where you cannot innovate. Even as husband and wife, you need to understand this concept of innovation. And I'm going to tell you some of the greatest quotes on innovation by one of the most creative person I have ever seen in this world. And that is Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. Now he's going into space exploration now. So that is where he's concentrating his effort now. But that man built an online bookstore into a mammoth online commerce system. And these are some of his greatest quotes on innovation. Jeff Bezos says, if you are leaning away from the future is going to win every time. Now, what is the wisdom in this? What is the wisdom in this quotes? The wisdom there is that don't think that the future is not going to be important. And don't leave what you can do today to the future. And don't think the future is just one cookie thing that will not happen. The truth is that the future is going to happen to all of us. And if you are not prepared, the future might deal mercilessly with you. So that is what Jeff Bezos say. If you are thinking the future is not important, I don't need to focus on the future, I don't need to do things that will make my life better in the future, Jeff Bezos says the future is going to win every time. So you better pay attention to your future. Another wonderful quote by Jeff Bezos is that he said, by removing the tiniest amounts of friction from ordinary activities, it improves customers' life. No matter how little that innovation might look, just bring it on board. Little innovation here and there, little innovation here and there. By the time you combine all the innovative ideas you are bringing to your work, to your organization, it will make all the difference at the end of the day. Another wonderful quote from Jeff Bezos is that he said, there is no chance that anything is perfected yet. And I believe that with the whole of my heart. There is no chance that everything or anything is perfected yet. And this is quite similar to what the Japanese concept of Kaizen means, which means continuous improvement. Continuous improvement. And that is why the Japanese are very, very good when it comes to electronics. They are continually improving things. That is why they look very small in terms of the population, but they are doing great things in terms of their innovation. They have brought diverse, innovative ideas to our society today. Now, here is a known fact about innovation from the economists. Economics is one magazine, or you can call it a journal if you like, that talks about the global economy. It looks into different investment opportunity, anything that has to do with economy. That is what the economist deals with. And economists told us that innovation is now the single most important ingredient in any modern economy. What an insight that is given you and me today. So it means the future that we are all heading towards, it is only the innovative that will survive in that future. If you are not innovative, if you are not creative, there may not be chance for you in that future that we are going into. So why do leaders need to innovate? Why do you need to innovate as a leader? Now, I'm going to tell you several things that needs to happen for you to innovate. And I said leaders innovate for a variety of reasons, among which are when there are external threats. Maybe your competitor or your competitions are bringing in a new product that will determine the future of your own product, then you need to innovate. When your competitor are bringing in a product that will totally disrupt your business and your organization, then you need to innovate. When you are losing your market share because of the activity of your competition, you need to innovate. Or when your product is no longer meeting the needs of the people, and because of that you are losing market share, you need to innovate. When there are new regulations, either as a result of political or government policies, you need to innovate. Because you cannot afford to ignore the rules that are governing the industry where you are operating. When there are trade barriers, maybe for example, your business has become a global business and one of the nations which you are doing business with has placed a trade barrier that will affect the product you are producing, then you need to innovate. The general state of the economy, whether it is good, whether it is bad, whether there are new opportunities, whether there are things that are coming up, the general mood of the market can also determine whether you need to innovate or not. Of course, obviously, when you are beginning to sense that there are new opportunities. For example, there was no market for iPhone in the first place. There was no consumer that told Apple that they needed iPhone. But Apple as an organization suddenly began to realize that if we merge all these technologies together and merge them into a single product, then we can create a new market for this. And that was how they were able to explore the iPhone market industry. And that is why their organization today is worth more than $1 trillion in market value. So when we begin to sense new opportunities, it is an opportunity to innovate. When new technologies are emerging, I'm sure some of us must have been hearing about AI, ChatGPT, and all that. When these things are coming up, don't sit down and say it doesn't concern you. If you, just like Jeff Bezos say, if you are leaning away from the future is going to win you. I have been there before. I was one of those who believed that I would never need to be able to use computer. That after all, if I want to use computer, I can always hire a secretary that will do that for me. Hey, I can tell you, by the time I graduated from the university, I was almost left in the wilderness. because of my ignorance, because I was leaning away from the future. So when new technologies are emerging, you have to innovate. When there are new markets that are coming up, you have to innovate. Untapped markets that nobody has ever taken any products to, you need to innovate. When there is economic boom, there is prosperity, there is progress, the society is moving forward, it's not the time to sit down and fold our hands and say we have arrived. You need to innovate. And of course, when you have new ideas that are coming up on your head, it is an opportunity for you to innovate. So whether you like it or not, there are several reasons why you as a leader, why you need to innovate. Now, let's try to understand the value and the dynamic nature of change. We're going to talk about innovation, but before we talk about innovation in full details, let's also evaluate the value and the dynamic nature of change, because many a times it is change that determines, it is when changes begins to occur, that is when there is a call for innovation. Now let's understand the pace of change through some of these. Let's understand some of the pace of change by looking into some of the events that has happened in the immediate past history of our own contemporary time. Now, change is inevitable. You have to believe that. You have to embrace that. You have to accept that. And it is happening to all of us, whether you like it or not. Even as I am speaking now, the way you were last year is not the same way you are this year. And the way you are this year is not going to be the way you will be next year. So change is happening to all of us, whether you accept it or not. And the earlier you embrace it, the better for you. So change is inevitable and it is happening to all of us. It is the only thing that is constant in life. Change is the only thing that is constant in life. Now look at what happened between 1973 and 1983. Between 1973 and 1983, 35% of Fortune 1000 companies were new. Fortune 1000 companies were the 1000 biggest company in the entire world. And between 1973 and 1983, we only have 30% of those companies that were new. Now, I'd like you to follow this progression. Now, by 2003 and 2013, which is just within 10 years, between 73 and 83, that's about approximately 10 years too, 35%. Now, look at between 2003 and 2013, 70% of Fortune 1000 companies were new. Now, my question is, what happened to those companies that were created between 1973 and 1983? Obviously, something has happened to them, because if they were 35%, and by 2003, we already have another 70% of companies that are new, then it means something has happened to many of those companies that were created between 1973 and 1983. Many of them refused to innovate. And because they refused to innovate, what Peter Drucker said came to pass in their lifetime. They died. So if you don't innovate, it is sure that you will die. Now, here are the types of changes that can happen or that can take place. And when these changes are occurring, It is a call for innovation. Change can happen through restructuring, you know. And what do you mean by restructuring? It is using what is already in existence that is not really functioning the way it should function. Is not functioning at the highest optimum level. And you repackage it in such a way that it becomes efficient and effective. That is one type of change. That is restructuring. And of course, re-engineering is almost the same thing like restructuring. It is trying to reorganize and reorient the way you have been doing things. It is a complete new line of action. You are re-engineering. And that is precisely what we are trying to do with School of Transformational Leadership. What we are doing with this School of Transformational Leadership is that we want to re-engineer the way the society is. Somebody is saying, how would that be possible? Just keep watching and you will see things happen. We are going to re-engineer the way things are being done in the society through this School of Transformational Leadership. Because we believe we have what it takes, because we believe we have been called for such a time as this, because we believe that we have the requisite competence to be able to bring the needed change. Another type of change is when organization merge, or when an organization is being acquired by another organization. Like, for example, some of us might have learned that not Jeff Bezos now, Elon Musk acquired Twitter for $44 billion. And the man is doing a great thing with Twitter now. So that is another type of change. And what is he trying to achieve with Twitter? He wants to make journalism to be results that you are looking for. And I think number 6, if I'm not mistaken, number 6, be ready to seize your moment or moments, because every moment is an opportunity for creativity. In fact, as I am speaking right now, if only you can discern the moment that we are in, there is an opportunity to be creative. And in case you miss this opportunity, the next moment you are going to encounter is also going to be a great opportunity for you to be creative. So be ready to seize your moment when it presents itself. And remember what David Jones told us. He said, creativity is not magical, it's not mystical, it is a moment. The moment when you look at the ordinary things and you are able to bring out extraordinary things. The moment where you are able to look at the mundane things, the everyday things of life, and you are able to bring something that is revolutionary out of it. Now, so how do we develop a creative mind? How do we develop? What is the process for developing a creative mind? Now, I'd like you to know that creativity is a combination of curiosity and learning. Let me come again. Creativity is a combination of curiosity and learning. Creativity is not just being curious. It is good to be curious. It is good to be inquisitive. It is good to want to explore things. But much more than being curious, you also have to embrace the discipline of learning. You have to embrace the discipline of learning. Curiosity and learning is what I call the real value of education. That is what I call the real value of education. So I want to encourage you, don't let your master be your grades. You know, some people, they have exalted their grades above what they can bring to the table or above the lessons they can learn from life experience. Don't let the grades you are getting in school or anywhere else be the focus of your life. If you allow grades to be your master, you will be slave to your grades. You will never be able to think creatively. You will never be able to take risk. You will never be able to explore things on your own. Much of what happens when we become matured, you know, it's good for you sometimes to just observe the little kids and the adults. When you look at the little kids, what do you see about them? You see curiosity. You see inquisitiveness. That is why when you are left with a young boy or a young girl, within the space of 2 minutes, they can ask you 30 questions. Why? Because they are very curious. Why? Because they are very inquisitive. They want to know. They want to gain knowledge. And my advice for you is that if you truly want to be creative, never lose that attitude of being a child who is always curious about life, who is always curious about things. When we become matured, then we quit being playful. We quit being creative. We lose the desire to explore and to use our imagination and to be ourselves. The solution is to be more like a child. Now, I'm going to tell you some of the known facts about creativity. You will agree with some of them, and perhaps you will begin to observe some of them beginning from this moment. Some known facts about creativity. Number one, creativity is a skill that can be developed. You can develop it. So it is not out of reach for you. Number two, creativity starts with the way you think. You need to pay attention to what you think. You need to pay attention to how you think. So that is where creativity starts from. It begins with the way you think. Number three, creativity is something you are born with. You were born to think creatively. So it's already inherent inside of you. All you just need to do is to let it out. Number four, creativity is not about developing a new skill. Unfortunately, that is what many people believe. They believe creativity is about developing a new skill, but that is not what creativity is. Creativity is about finding the one that's been there all along and nurturing it back to life. That is what creativity is, because already within you, there is that creative ability within you. All you just need to do is to nurture it back to life. Number five, creativity can be displayed in any field. Whether you are a songwriter, whether you are a newscaster, whether you are a journalist, whether you are an artist, whether you are a banker, whether you are an accountant, whether you are a lawyer, whether you are a dentist, whether you are an engineer, whether whoever you are, whether you are a politician, creativity is not limited to one particular field. It can be displayed in any field. So You are not at a disadvantage if you are called into a specific assignment that a lot of people are not called into. Don't think you are disadvantaged. Number 6, there is no limit to how much of creative ideas that you can display. Your creative ability is boundless, is limitless. There is no boundary. So begin to explore. Number 7, creativity is coming up with something new that has value. If there is no value in what you are coming up with, then it is not yet creativity. It has to deliver value to people. That is what makes it creativity. Number 8, creativity makes it more fun to learn. When you discover you are creative in your assignment, it gives you the pleasure to want to learn more. It gives you the pleasure to want to continue to improve yourself. And number 9, creativity makes your idea to stick. In other words, it gives you credibility to it. When you nurture an idea and you stand by that idea, what creativity does is to establish your credibility in that idea that you are nurturing. And number 10, creativity makes you more interesting. And that is what Michael Gelsen said. Creativity makes you more interesting. So you can see that creativity is all about you. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe you can do it. You have to believe it is within your reach. You have to believe that it is possible. Now let's talk about the components of creative thinking. The components of creative thinking. What are the things that makes creative leadership what it is? What are the components? What are the things that came together to make creative idea worth looking for? Number 1 component of creative thinking is what I call divergent thinking. Divergent thinking. And what is divergent thinking? Divergent thinking is the process of coming up with possibilities. It is like the word diversity. In other words, there are so many different varieties, so many options available, so many alternatives that you could explore. That is what divergent thinking is all about. Is divergent thinking doesn't just focus on one very good idea. No, that is not what creativity is. Creativity is not about one very good idea. No, it is exploring different levels of ideas. It's also from the word divide, which means separate into different parts. And summarily, divergent thinking is the ability to come up with multiple ideas. That is what divergent thinking is. To come up with plenty ideas, with a lot of ideas, multiple ideas that you can make choice from. And this is what Albert Einstein says. He said, if at first the idea is not absorbed, then there is no hope for it. No, don't feel that your ideas looks or sounds kooky, or your idea sounds very funny, or your idea sounds like it's not going to be possible. No, don't be embarrassed with the different ideas that are coming to your mind. And that is why Albert Einstein says, if your idea is not absorbed, then there is no hope for it. It has to look funny to people. People may even laugh at you that your idea is crazy. People have to make fun of you that you are out of your mind. But that is how to get creative. Now, the second component of creative thinking is convergent thinking. You are now beginning to converge that idea. Out of that, maybe hundreds or thousands of ideas that you have in your mind. Now, those ideas are now beginning to come together to become a very good idea. So, convergent thinking is evaluating and refining your ideas so they are actually worth something. They are now beginning to converge into something unique, something different, something that becomes valuable. That is what convergent thinking is. I'm sure you must have heard people say that failure is not an option in life. But I'd like you to know that in real life setting, failure is evidently one of the options at first. It is an essential part of the creative process. So in other words, what am I saying? Don't be afraid to fail. When you fail, evaluate what has happened. Learn your lesson. Let the lessons you have learned empower you and move on with your life. Failure is never final. Failure is never fatal. It is a learning process. When you fail, make sure you are failing forward. Don't let your failure undermine what can still be possible about you. Now let's talk about the techniques for generating good ideas. Techniques for generating good ideas. To generate good ideas, you need to engage in the act of brainstorming. You have to brainstorm. I'm sure you've heard about that word before. And perhaps at one time or the other, you have done it. You have engaged in the art of brainstorming before. And I'm going to tell you 3 quick rules you need to observe when you are brainstorming. Number 1, brainstorm by yourself. And then combine ideas with a group. Brainstorm alone, then get a group of people together, also brainstorm with them. The number 2 thing, or number 2 rules about brainstorming is that you need to know, you need to know in case you don't know now. You need to know now, in case you don't know before, that there are no bad ideas when brainstorming. Don't say this one is not good and you throw it away. No. You have to accommodate every idea. There are no bad ideas when you are brainstorming. And also, you also need to know that there are also no good ideas when you are brainstorming. Every idea is valid. Every idea is important. Because it is in the midst of those ideas that you think they are not good or you think they are good, that is when, as you begin to focus on that creative attention, that is when they begin to converge into something that is unique. I'm still talking about techniques for generating good ideas. I said, number 1, you need to engage in the act of brainstorming. Number 2, you need to seize the right time and moment. I cannot emphasize more on this. You need to seize the right time. There is a saying that says, make hay while the sun shines. You need to learn how to seize the moment, seize the right time. Number two, change your environment when you reach a dead end. That is how to generate good ideas. When you are trying to get something done and you believe you have really reached a dead end, sometimes what you need to do in such a situation is just to change your environment. Number four, sometimes when you are engaging in brainstorming or you are trying to generate a good ideas, sometimes what you might just need to do is just to change your viewpoints or the lenses through which you are looking at problems. You just need to change your perspective a little bit. Look at it from another angle. See it from another vantage. And you will see that it will make all the difference. Number five, you need to let your imagination run full length without any self-imposed boundary. That is another technique for generating good ideas. Let your imagination run full length without any self-imposed boundary. And Albert Einstein says, imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Now we are gradually coming to the end of this course, and now we want to look at what exactly is the goal of a creative thinking leader. What are you trying to achieve? What is your goal? What is your aim? What are you driving towards? What is your ultimate goal as a creative thinking leader? Now, the ultimate goal of a creative thinking leader is to create an ideal world that is possible. That is always what a creative leader is always aspiring to do or to become. A creative leader is always interested in creating an ideal world that is possible. But sometimes we know that an ideal world sometimes can be very, very elusive. It can be something you continue to pursue even all the days of your life, and you may not really reach the ideal world that you are looking for. But the most important thing is, even though it may look elusive, but you are not giving up on it. You believe it can be possible. And that it is that impetus of possibility that drives you, that keeps you getting more creative day by day. Another goal of a creative thinking leader is that you have to desire to be the next big deal in our shared expectation of a world that is possible. You have to believe in yourself. You see, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody is going to believe in you. You have to believe that you are different. You have to believe that you are called for such a time as this. You have to believe that you are uniquely designed by God to make something happen. So you have to desire that you are going to be the next big deal in our shared expectation of a world that is possible. And as I conclude, I want to leave you with these anonymous quotes. It says, leadership is not putting greatness into people. but recognizing that the greatness is already in them. Now, what I am doing through this teaching is not to put greatness in you, but I'm only calling your attention that that greatness is already within you. And you need to let it out. You need to release it to the world and be the person that you have been called to be.